Hey everybody, this is Dr. Neil Goodman, MD, Biohacker, with another edition of Nutritional Biohacking to Wellness. I'd like to welcome you to this program where I teach my audience about the benefits of nutrition and nutritional biohacking so that they can be healthier and more resilient to illness and aging, so that they can have not just a longer lifespan, but a longer health span. This may be the single most important health presentation of your life. I call it the Biohacker's Guide to Wellness and Aging. I need to make an FDA disclaimer that I do not make claims to treat, cure, or mitigate disease. Let me give you a little bit about my background. I'm a board-certified pediatric and adolescent medicine physician of 35 years. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, and I was a major in the United States Army Medical Corps. I'm fellowship trained at Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center, and I trained and got my medical degree at Medical College of Ohio at Toledo. I'm also a graduate of The Ohio State University, and I graduated with distinction in microbiology and immunology with a Bachelor of Science. I'm a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics, a member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging in Medicine, and I'm also a member of the Institute of Functional Medicine. For the purpose of today's topic, we're going to talk about cellular activation. There are actually 3 known ways that we can activate our cellular pathways. The first one is called Nrf2 activation, which has to do with reducing our oxidative stress. The second pathway of activation is the Nrf1 pathway, which is involved in mitochondrial support and repair. And the third pathway that we've come to know about recently is that of the NAD or sirtuin pathway. Now, all 3 of these pathways are important to activate, but we're only going to be talking about the Nrf2 pathway for the purpose of today's discussion. The Nrf2 pathway is one of the core pillars of health for wellness and for aging. And it deals with primarily the reduction of oxidative stress, as I alluded to. If you think about oxidative stress, it has to do with this molecule. This is the oxygen molecule. We think and know that it's important for our health, but in fact, it may have a double side. First of all, you take a breath, and that breath is not 100% oxygen. It's only 21% oxygen. Really, you're breathing the majority of it being nitrogen, 78%. If you have too much of it, it's actually toxic. We need it, but it is also the thing that is slowly killing us over time. So in this way, oxygen is a double-edged sword. And the reason it's double-edged is because it aids in our body's production of free radicals. Now, free radicals are formed by oxygen. And when oxygen gets together with a number of different things in our body and also from outside our body, it forms these toxic elements called free radicals. Contributors include smoking, ionized radiation, UV light, air pollution, inflammation, and just our own metabolism from our mitochondria, which need oxygen in order for us to process fuel and for us to live. But they all have this common denominator of oxygen. Let's refer to the free radicals as the bad guys. That'll keep it nice and simple. All right, so we know that oxygen causes oxidation. That part's clear. You know its effect on metal. It causes steel to rust and aluminum to corrode. But cells are actually rusting too. They just rust in a different way over a much slower and longer period of time, and it manifests itself as initially wrinkles of your skin, cell damage, later inflammation, and ultimately aging, which is, of course, a culmination of a lot of things that cause disease and ultimately cell death. Now, if you were to look at this apple that sits on the countertop, you are literally watching the effects of oxygen and free radical damage on flesh occur in real time. It occurs much faster in this apple. As you see, it gets brown, and we've all seen this. But this is happening to us as well. It just happens, as I said, over a much slower time frame that may be barely noticeable. So what do we do about it? Well, we have a system of internal and external antioxidants. Now, external antioxidants or secondary antioxidants are ones that are found in our diet. We can take them orally. They include coenzyme Q10, vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin C, a number of different things that you can take or eat to help you with your oxidation. That's why they're called antioxidants. But in fact, we have a much more potent system that we're born with, and they consist of 3 internal antioxidants that are so powerful in compared to oral antioxidants that you might supplement with, that they are able to get rid of free radicals to the tune of millions at a time. And we were equipped with these, and we were coded in our genes to produce these when we're young. The top dog in this game is SOD, which stands for superoxide dismutase. It's really not important to remember the name, just to know that it's there. But we also have 2 others. One's called catalase, and the other one's called glutathione peroxidase. And these are extremely powerful internal antioxidants, and they allow us to defend ourselves against free radical damage. So we'll just refer to all of the antioxidants as the good guys. And I like to put a Superman symbol by the name because, we want Superman to sort of rescue us from the bad guys, right? All right, so how do antioxidants reduce free radicals? Well, they're enemies of each other. This is the battle we have going on within us every day. Antioxidant particles bind up the free radicals in a 1-to-1 fashion, meaning one antioxidant binds up one free radical, and therefore it neutralizes it, which is great as long as we have enough of them. But when the amount of free radicals exceeds our ability to neutralize them, that's when we suffer from what's termed oxidative stress. And you've heard more and more about oxidative stress in today's news because we realize that it is the cause and the link to over 200 problems of disease and aging in the human body. And this also applies to animals as well. So what about these free radicals? What do they do? Well, free radicals, can injure any one of our body's organs: the heart, the lungs, the joints, the brain, and they manifest in many different ways. And my job as a physician, and most physicians, were trained to treat all of these different organ systems with medicines or drugs. But maybe, in fact, the better solution and the more forward-thinking solution would be is to try to reduce free radical damage and bring up those internal antioxidants, the superoxide dismutase, the catalase, and the glutathione peroxidase. If we could only do that, that would be the answer to a lot of different problems without resorting to the use of drugs. Now, in some clinics, people can receive injections or IV injections of glutathione. They haven't done this yet with catalase or SOD. It's just not available. But glutathione doesn't live and last very long, so you have to go often, and it's very expensive and troublesome. There must be a better way to raise these levels of these internal antioxidants. Now, let's go to this Nrf2 pathway that I alluded to. Your DNA is not your destiny. In other words, just because you think that you have some bad genes and you're destined to suffer from some terrible disease process as a result, that does not mean that you have to incur that. The new science of epigenetics shows that the choices that you make can actually affect the way your genes are expressed and those of your children. You have 23 pairs of chromosomes, but only 20% of your DNA is expressed at any given time. 80% actually lies dormant, just waiting for a signal to turn it on. So you can change the way that some of those genes are expressed. And when you do that, this is where we get the term biohacking. The other option, of course, is just to be hijacked by the environmental assaults. So what do we talk about with biohacking? Well, okay, so we mentioned about the chromosomes. Here's 23 chromosomes, and so this is pretty much what it looks like. All of those horizontal bands are essentially a gene. Genes code for enzymes and proteins. This is a genetic blueprint. Now, the 2 proteins that I want to allude to are the first one, Nrf2, and the second one, Nrf1. Now, these have been identified as master regulators of our cell's ability to protect itself. But we're only going to talk about Nrf2 today. When you activate the Nrf2 pathway, you actually are able to increase superoxide dismutase by 34%. You can increase catalase by 54% and increase glutathione by 300% in just 120 days. The net result of this is that you can reduce your oxidative stress from free radical damage by 40% in 30 days. And this has actually been documented and tested in laboratories across the country and across the world, and actually published at the National Institutes of Health. And there were scientific studies done by multiple different colleges and universities who also tried to show that there were Nrf2 activators that could stimulate this genetic pathway. Now, when you do that, you're using the science of something we call nutrigenomics. Basically, nutrigenomics means nutrition affecting your genes. So food actually influences the way our genes behave. Food is more than just nutrition or more than just calories. Food is actually code or a signal for our bodies, and we can take advantage of this. So in the science, if you were to activate your body using Nrf2 activation, you have the ability to increase your ability to get rid of free radicals by 1 million to 1. Imagine that. 1 million to 1 free radicals for one molecule of a Nrf2 activation. You can get rid of 1 million free radicals instead of just 1 to 1. Listen, if I ran into a house that was on fire and I just threw a Dixie cup of water on the fire, do you think I would get anywhere? No. But imagine if you had a fire hose in every single room of the house. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about activation versus supplementation. You can supplement taking vitamins and vitamin A and eating lots of kale and blueberries and so forth, and they're healthy, but you can never ever get to the volume or the amount of free radical neutralization that you can by turning on your internal activators. And that's what we're talking about. This is the new science. This science is called nutrigenomics. Now, Protandim Nrf2 Synergizer was discovered and developed about 10 or 12 years ago by a research scientist, in fact, the original discoverer of superoxide dismutase back in 1939. And he worked for 30 years to try to find out what natural products could increase superoxide dismutase to levels that would attain free radical neutralization much higher than what you could do by taking oral supplements. So that's where LifeVantage got its birth. And they developed this product using 5 organic plant extracts, which individually were not really all that potent. If you look at the diagram here, you can see that the 5 ingredients have very, very low levels actually of Nrf2 activity, but when put together in an extremely complicated mixture, ratio, whatever you want to call it, they were able to attain an 1,800% increase in total Nrf2 activity. We are able to lower oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days. And we can reduce that cellular stress through the Nrf2 activation pathway. We do it by inducing these enzymes capable of neutralizing more than 1 million free radicals in all of your cells simultaneously, and that helps you to regulate your survival genes, of which there are over 400. These are genes that are responsible for multiple different problems, and they help the body repair and rejuvenate its own cells. This is the only natural supplement or activator that was proven to extend life in mammals by 7%. And this was published by the National Institute of Aging, which is a division of the National Institutes of Health. So this is what it looks like. 1-to-1 ratio. You would have to eat 375 oranges to equal the power of just 1 Protandim. You could drink 87 glasses of red wine a day. That would be impossible, and you'd probably die from it. It's not safe. You could eat 11 pounds of blueberry. That wouldn't be comfortable either, would it? And you probably couldn't do it. Or 120 vitamin C tablets, which probably would be toxic in its own right. versus taking one Protandim molecule, one Protandim tablet, which equals all of those. If you look at this red line, it goes straight up from age 20 to age 80. Our oxidative stress continues to build because we've already outstripped our own natural ability to neutralize free radicals. But when you put Protandim into the mix, it's able to lower the oxidative stress level of everyone from age 20 to age 80, as far out as they've tested it, by 40% in just 30 days. Now, it can go even lower than that depending on how long you take it. And the object is to continue to take it as long as you can, because free radical damage continues on and on. It does not stop. We want to keep up with it. It's a lot like this keyboard. If you can imagine that each of these keys on the keyboard was a gene. Remember those stripes that I showed you in the chromosomes? This would be analogous. Each keyboard plays a note. All right, let's zoom in on this. If we had this keyboard and it was a young piano, a brand new piano, this would be like our young body. All the keys would be playing nice and clean. You can see these bars showing the frequency of the notes on each of the keys. See how nice these are? Nice and smooth, right? All right, now suppose that piano was sitting in the attic for, say, 30 years. Well, do you think that maybe that might affect the ability of the piano to be able to play correctly? You bet it does. And this is what happens. The frequency of the notes changes. And you can see how staggered these lines are. This is a piano that is out of tune. It's not playing very well. Now, our body is very similar to this piano. Here are the genes in a, say, 50-year-old person, and it shows the frequency of the genes, of which some were low, not expressing themselves enough, and some of the genes were expressed too high, perhaps a causation of some sort of problem or health concern. Now, what happens when you put Protandim in the mix and you measure these 30 days later? This is what happens. Look at this. Is this not amazing? The genes that were high become lower, and the genes that were low become higher. The expression of them flattens out. It becomes a smooth curve again. This is much like it should be when we were younger, and this is what we want to attain. If all of our genes were expressing themselves in the way that they should be when we were younger, we would have a solution towards better health and better wellness. And that's what I'm talking about today. This is such a powerful thing, and you all need to know about it. So, Washington State University said in 2015 about this phenomenon that we may be on the verge of new literature on health effects of Nrf2, which might become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. And we've been seeing this time and time again. If you look up Nrf2 or you look up oxidative stress at the National Institutes of Health website called pubmed.gov, you will find over 3,000 or more articles on the subject of how oxidative stress and Nrf2 is involved in all of these different conditions. Go ahead, look up a condition and put in those terms, oxidative stress, and I promise you, you will find a link. So, in summary, Nrf2 is a mechanism by which you can turn on your genes in order to reduce your oxidative stress by 40% or more. We don't want you to take antioxidants, we want you to make them. It's much more physiologic, much more healthy, it's doable, and you could not, as I said, eat enough kale, broccoli, oranges, whatever, take vitamin supplements in order to lower your free radical damage. Remember, your body's making millions of them, and they only have thousands of them. There's just no comparison. We're able to then fight free radicals 1,000,000 to 1 in every single cell, every second, times 37 trillion cells. Do you guys get it? This is so much antioxidant power that it literally begins to heal your own body, and you can revert and reverse your aging process that is causing you difficulty. And it does this through the mechanism of increasing superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase, those 3 internal antioxidants, amongst all the other 400 plus survival genes that are activated by Protandim that we haven't even talked about. And lastly, it helps your body to detoxify and remove the trash buildup from all the years of living and damage that's been done. Now, this is called biohacking, as I said, but you know what? Animals also suffer with the same problem, and so here is a pet version of Protandim Nrf2 Synergizer. It has been used in horses, it has been used in dogs, and it can be used in animals. And here's an example of dogs who have been on Pet Tandem. So you also want to reduce your dog's oxidative stress. That's also why they age so quickly. Remember, 1 human year is equal to 7 dog years. After all, remember, dogs age 7 times faster than we do. And so they have much higher levels of oxidative stress. And you want to reduce that for the dogs so that they can have a long and healthier life. So I just want to thank you for participating in this educational program where you have learned about Nrf2 activation and one of the cellular pathways which contribute to aging and wellness. And we have a mechanism by which we can now reduce our free radical damage and oxidative stress in a very simple and affordable way. If you want more information about this, please visit my website at www.neilgoodmanmd.com, where you can learn more about biohacking and more about the other pathways of activation. And stay tuned, because I'll have more of these educational programs on the other pathways of activation and other ways that you can biohack your health. Thank you.